World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Office without limits. Slash your telco costs. Boost agent productivity and customer service. Web conferencing for all. never miss a call. .3CX, everywhere you go, on premise or in the cloud. 3cx.com.
aħna saħħalsulhom il-fuel ara ġej.
Wara ftit ġranet kellna rebbieħ ieħor fil-logħba tagħna kontra 30 sekonda bil-maqlub.
serva xejdu le mhix se tieqaf.
Il-ġimgħa d-dieħla nkunu fuq pompa tal-Enemed oħra nagħtu xi ħaġa oħra.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
Okay, we proceed to the start.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the Malta National GT3 Championship fueled by Enemed. My name is Nicolas Hillebrand, and alongside me, right over here, of course, is Kai Bikini. And of course, we are sponsored by Enemed, by Gaming Malta, the Malta Motorsports Federation, 3CX, and Vibe FM. We are also supported here live, of course, on the social media of World Pro Racing, but also on ESTV, Motorsport TV, and TVM Sports. Today, we race at the Portland International Raceway. It's going to be quite an interesting layout because I think we'll leave that twist to when we go to the actual at-the-track footage, Kai.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting way. That's going to be one way of putting it, I think. Drivers, they're going to have to come up with some inventive and creative ways of making overtakes, and I'm sure you guys will get it as soon as we see the track.
Absolutely. It's going to be a very, very interesting run today. Of course, everyone is right back here in the McLaren 720S with fixed setup. Everyone has the same conditions, of course. And I think best up, we open up the discussion about what's happened so far in the championship with the studio in a minute, if they are ready in a minute. So we'll just have to quickly wait for a moment. But yeah, then we'll just kind of quickly start the discussion already here. Last round, Botnia Ring. What a race that was. Kai, what did you think overall of it?
It was an interesting race. We saw Mifsud dominating at the front of the field until the last lap where everything started to kick off. There was absolute chaos throughout the whole field. Everyone started getting involved, and I think the finishing order was not what we expected at the start.
Absolutely. And, you know, of course, like Dean Vella, very, very strong the entire weekend. And especially, you know, in practice, you could see its progress more and more. But didn't nail the start, then made a mistake. And then, of course, the front battle shifted from Vella against Muscat into Muscat against Mercia, the two championship rivals when you count out Bernard Vella. But Bernard Vella then, you know, just took all the chances that he got through the last lap incident. And, yeah, it's just absolutely crazy how that played out in the end, you know?
Yeah, it was an interesting battle to say the least, and I'm sure there will still be some tensions between the drivers, and I guess it's all going to carry over here to Portland International Raceway. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Absolutely, especially the overall race result. Also, you know, not quite certain at the time, you know, we had the interviews and everything, and, you know, we still had to wait for penalties, of course, to get applied as well. But I think for further discussion about this, we can now move on to the studio over in Malta.
Good evening, Nico and Kai. Good evening to all our viewers. With me today, I have Justin Mifsud, the CEO and founder of World Pro Racing. How are you tonight, Justin?
I'm fine. How are you?
Great.
Good.
Super excited.
You look great.
For today's race.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for... Actually, I'm feeling like it's being weird today, Usually we are behind the scenes in the broadcast room. Today there's Nathan taking care of the broadcast direction. So today is up to him. He's controlling everything. And this is one thing that we're doing by giving opportunities to everybody to get experience in the world of esports. The championship is exciting. There are drivers who are pushing a lot. I mean, the past race round, the last round, they were very close. Accidents happened. There were drivers who were not happy about it. Of course, there were discussions. This is like any other motorsport discipline, not just virtually, but in real life as well, where there are decisions that are hard decisions that had to be taken. In our case, by Adrian, the race director, and George. So, but this is the sport that sometimes you are winning, sometimes you are losing, something that you should not be. A spoil sport or a sore loser, keep on going. You know, I'm talking in general, not pointing to anybody, by the way. So this is the sport that connects everybody, have fun together. Of course, this is a national championship, that there's a good prize to it, and the first national championship in Malta where there will be the national championship the first time. So it is something that who's going to win it should be proud of. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch finally the first race, because I never watch races while I'm broadcasting. So this would be the first time that I'll be like focusing on a race and maybe giving also our opinions about what's happening during the race, along with Nicholas and Kai.
Do you think that the racers are prepared for today's track, which is in Portland?
Portland is an official R-Factor 2 track. All the rounds, all the tracks are official, meaning that they have been created by R-Factor 2. They are not the most used tracks in the virtual world, but they have they are a bit different than just a normal track like Spa, for example, or Monza. They are tracks that are classics as well, and they are enjoyed as well at the same time, and they are not that easy to race in such tracks. But as you can see, there are drivers like Andrea and others who are pushing as well to be part of this championship, even though they are not in the top level, but still they are continuing to push themselves, even though, for example, certain drivers do not have a simulation, and they don't have R-Factor 2 either. So, doing their best in a 30 minutes practice to try and do their best to get the hang of the track and the rubber presets and stuff like that.
Yeah, in fact, I think it is very important for not just racers, everyone in your everyday life, to not give up because you are maybe in the last place, but to keep on persevering and trying your best to do your utmost.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we can say any type of motorsport, not just virtual even, did it well. Imagine Formula 1, for example. I mean, if the top 3 drivers are always winning and the rest are just, I don't want to compete anymore, then that motorsport is finished. I mean, Formula 1, there are 20 cars. I mean, somebody has to be the last one, but it doesn't mean that you're not good, or you have to keep pushing. And of course, as we say always, it's not just about the driver. There's a whole team behind the team. So, I mean, the driver has to perform his optimum performance, but still, I mean, if the car is not functioning or performing well, then the driver is going to be part of it to, not going up the positions. So it's a collaborative effort together to make something successful. In terms of here, of course, they are doing it on their own. They are pushing and they are training. There are some who are not even training. As we know, there are experienced drivers here, such as Bernard, Jason Muscat, and all the rest of the drivers who have years of experience in simulation, especially R-Factor 2. I think Jason Muscat is one of the veterans in R-Factor 2. He races in various competitions internationally. And I think there's still opening to other drivers to push and get into those positions to get at least a podium maybe today as well.
From your experience, Justin, how many times do you think that these drivers have to train?
As you know, in our facility, people are coming over here to practice and either for fun, either for to get experience in sim racing, maybe to become champions in esports. And there are also, we have a person coming every day training before going to Spa in real life. So it depends on what you're opting for, either for fun, for experience, for just training, but still enjoying it. And then if it's for something very important to you, of course, the hours increase to learn more. But as I always say, from my 12 years of experience in teaching, it's useless to keep on training hours and hours. The same for studying. How much your mind can handle, your brain can handle all that knowledge, all that data, all that information. So sometimes the less is more. It depends. If it's an endurance race, you have to practice many stints. Stints meaning that you keep on lapping until the fuel tank is empty. But depends on the type of event you're participating in. Depends on what your plans are. But as I said, you don't need to practice like 6 hours a day of training every day, because you'll get tired and you'll do laps after laps without even knowing that you're learning nothing at all. So it's better do 1 hour and understanding what you're doing wrong, so you can fix that problem or whatever issue you're having on track, than doing 2 hours lapping every lap without doing any improvements or not knowing what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, that's great. So from the studio in Monte Cristo Estates, back to Nico and Kai.
And we're back here now. Thank you very much, Davinia and Justin. And, you know, it's still a little bit of time until we jump over to practice at the Portland International Raceway. But, you know, they mentioned the different approaches, and I think it's a very fun comparison that Justin also made, you know, from real to virtual. And I think, quite honestly, sitting in a sim rig, you know, you have such a little feedback overall, like normally just from the steering wheel base, like I have right here. I went karting again recently, you know, just rental karting and stuff, so nothing like the professional stuff that you actually commentate on, Kai. But, you know, immediately, you know, the feedback got really, really noticeable, that it's just coming over the entire body, that is coming from vibrations and stuff that you don't feel. So adjusting to something like that, you know, so the ability also to just be able to practice more and more, I think, is really, you know, the standout thing with sim racing, because you can just put in thousands of laps and get more and more used to this. Or, you know, if you're just very talented, just do the same amount as everyone else, just be insanely fast and you're just comfortable with it. But it's all about adjusting to the feedback. And, you know, you yourself also raced a little bit in the sim world already. How did you prepare for the races you did?
Well, I think for an endurance race, all you can really do is just do laps after lap, trying to get consistent, trying not to make mistakes, because that's the main goal for an endurance race, is make it past your stint, don't crash the car, don't get any damage, because that's just going to add time onto your initial stint, which is the last thing that you want. But between real racing and sim racing, it's a massive difference. With sim racing, you can only get feedback from certain products, so for example your steering wheel, and maybe even some very advanced pedals. If you have a motion simulator, then you can get it in that form. But in comparison to real racing, you can feel the motion, you get the G-force, you can get a proper feel for the car underneath you, if it's sliding or not. And I think it's a completely different experience to sim racing. But sim racing is always evolving and it's always getting more realistic.
Absolutely. And of course, realistic handling, then we're quite in a good neighborhood with R-Factor 2, completely dynamic track and everything. And speaking of track, well, seamless transition, we can now go to Portland International Raceway. Now we see already only 20 minutes left in practice. Jason Muscat here, firmly in P1 at the moment, coming around the last bend, and actually quite good timing as well, because Kai, that little thing that we hinted towards, well, the viewers are going to see it for the first time now.
Well, yeah, the thing that we've been hinting at for all this time is maybe we're not going to see it from Justin as he pulls off the track and returns to the pit lane. But as Messiah makes his way down the straight, currently in second position, 3 attempts off the fastest lap that's been set. And there you go. Where's the first chicane? Well, it's nowhere to be seen on this track. We are missing out the first chicane. So normally a major overtaking zone, a major braking zone on this track, it's being missed out this time round.
Absolutely. And I think this will make stuff quite a lot more interesting than just, you know, a normal first braking zone as well, because this chicane, of course, you know, very hard braking zone, very tight chicane. You have a definitive possibility to just move alongside and, you know, be done basically after the turn-in point. But with this here, with the regular T4 being the first corner, I think we're going to see quite a lot of side-by-side action here.
Yeah, I think slipstream is going to be a major thing for drivers around this track. Obviously, with their very long home straight now, missing out that first chicane, it's even longer than it would have been usually. So slipstream is going to have a massive effect on these drivers, and I think it will assist a couple of overtakes, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, also just considering, because we don't have the first chicane, we're going to have a lot more straight, actually, like a lot higher end speed for the first braking zone, and a lot more distance to just stay side by side. So it's going to be quite interesting to see, maybe if people can complete moves even just from slipstreaming out of the last corner, and then just before the turn 1 braking zone, just go past.
Yeah, missing your braking zone is going to be very easy, especially being at such high speeds. It's very easy to miss your braking zone. And into a long flowing corner as well, you want to keep the minimum speed as high as possible, carry as much speed possible. So drivers, they will be pushing the limit, so mistakes are prone.
Absolutely. And actually, the fun part here, Portland, not the biggest circuit, only 3.1 kilometers or around that, with the first chicane removed here. And you see, oh, actually, that changing to Nevaeh in a rather inopportune moment for him there. It's so difficult to just get the perfect lap time out of everything here, simply because a lot of it is just straight and flat out. So the technical sections, like the ending chicane into the last corner and the first couple corners, into that hairpin leading onto the back straight, those will be all the more important now to just get a clean lap in. And I think that is where drivers will really be struggling today.
Yeah, with it being a high-speed track, and I'm sure with that will come the pack being very close together, drivers all over each other. So making a mistake, it's going to have a massive effect, especially at such high speeds. I think just losing the rear end could even end in hitting the wall, which was nearly the case for Enemed there, as we switched to him losing it across the grass there. So obviously mistake has been made in that case, but it's all going to be about consistency and keeping it clean.
Yeah, it really will be like that. You can also see the pit rejoin here, so in case someone would have to pit, you saw how much slower they were, also of course letting the other cars through, but I think this could really also cost a lot of time, so even more of an emphasis, to just stay completely clean of troubles, stay completely clean of any sort of incident, and of course, tire wear has always been a rather big thing, even though it's only a 30-minute race around here, so really, you will have to watch out, even though we don't have too much tire degradation today, with, of course, the lap being not very hard on tires, simply because there are not a lot of corners here.
Yeah, we didn't struggle with tire degradation last time round. I don't think that tire degradation is going to be a massive case this time round, especially with there being not many corners that are very demanding on the tires, demanding on you just hanging onto the car, not trying to let it go. But talking about letting it go, Corral there makes a mistake, currently in 8th position, 1.1 seconds off the fastest lap. That's not far off, and with 16 minutes left in practice, there's still time to improve.
Absolutely. Jason Muscat still trying to push, still 0.08 of a second faster right now than his potential best time at the moment, or well, overall best time he's set so far. Coming from the last chicane once again, and you just have to be so careful. There's the pit entry to another layout sort of there. Or actually, it would be the pit entry, but it's normally used for the older layout. But, coming over the line now a little bit slower. Couldn't quite tidy it up, but, you just have to really optimize your line through that chicane. We're just going to keep the normal corner name, so we're going to start with T4 as our first corner, simply because I think overall for the people who know Portland, it's going to be a lot easier to follow. So through the turn 10, 11 chicane, it's a lot of difficulty to place the car perfectly. You have to take all of the curb on the outside, and of course all of the tarmac that's with that little road off to the side, which isn't where you need to follow, and then just get the braking perfectly for turn 12. So I think that'll be a lot of difficulty there as well. We already saw Corral have a little slip up there, but I think we'll see a bit more of that.
Yeah, Dean Vella, after a strong result last time round, he's going to be a perfectionist around this track. He's going to have to get every single thing perfect if he wants to get the same result that he did last time round. It's going to be close, though, up at the top. But Justin Muscat, 1/10 drift of Rizzo currently in second position. But you know what? Let's get a new fastest lap time from Dean Vella. 102.779 has been set by the number 9 driver. Gets himself into lead by 0.05 of a second. Only half a tenth separates them.
You just mentioned it. He's going to be really want to be perfectionist here. So really, really good evidence here already of Dean Vella pushing like crazy very early on to already like try and explore the maximum pace he can extract out of this car. And he's not done yet because 36 thousandths of a second still up in Sector 1. Now coming down the back straight, even though it's a little bit crooked to the right. Now a little bit slower in Sector 2. Of course, the tires will be a little bit suffering now. But this, once again, this wonderful onboard footage here. You can really see the car struggling for grip there, as he barely just keeps it over a little bit of grass there, and then rejoins the tarmac, gets all of the momentum out, and maybe an improvement, not quite.
Yeah, struggling to find time around this track, but Jason Muscat isn't, as he takes to the grass a little bit there. We saw the dust being kicked up in the background. It is a purple Sector 1 that's been set by the number 10 McLaren. Obviously, all these drivers, all in McLarens, it's the 720S, all with the same setups, same equipment, and I think it's all going to be down to driving skill. We saw that time being lost there. 0.6 has been lost in the second sector, and I'm guessing that's all based on taking to the grass just around that corner.
Absolutely, or not even taking just to the grass, but also just a little bit too late or too early on the brakes, just missing your line a little bit, sliding a little bit too far, losing some momentum. It is so imperative around the circuit to just keep up the momentum where you can and get everything about these cornering sections perfect. Turn 4 to turn 7, before it goes on to the back straight, it's so difficult to get it all properly sorted. And I think actually that Sector 1 is basically ending, yeah, just after turn 5 here, as we go to turn 6. And now the hairpin here at turn 7. Very wide track there, so if you want to lunge for a position, this is the ideal spot for that. Now turn 8 onto the long back straight, which will see the end of Sector 2. And then Sector 3 is simply just the old chicane, this very old chicane already on this layout for basically over half a decade already. Oh, over half a century. Wrong time term there. But yeah, been there for quite some time. Of course, they had a different last corner before that, but you know, last corner I think has a bit more of a nice bit of swing there.
Yeah, I love this camera angle here. You can really see the concentration on the driver's face as they're on their lap right now. Jason Muscat fully focused on the screen right now. Nothing is going to distract this man as he goes around, and he's looking like he's going to be on a strong lap if he doesn't make the same mistake that he did last time around, which he hasn't. So he makes himself into turn 7 now. What would be turn 7? So it's now turn 5. But we go down the back straight once again. How is Sector 2 looking? It's all purple. Purple Sector 1, purple Sector 2. This is looking to be a very nice lap here for Jason Muscat if he's able to pull it all together in the third sector. All he needs to do is just fully commit to the corners and not make any mistakes, which is easier said than done. But we're on to the home straight once again. When he crosses the line, what is the time going to be? It's a long run to the start-finish line. He's soon going to cross it, and he is now 102.703. It's going to be a new fastest lap, but only by 0.07 of a second.
Absolutely, and Michael Mercia, of course, those two involved in a collision last weekend. So there will be some sort of rivalry there, not just for the championship contention, of course, where Bernard Vella is leading right now with 38 points, followed by Jason Muscat, who's currently MP1 with 32 points. 1 point behind that, we have got Michael Mercia, and right behind that we have Dean Vella, only 2 points behind that. So even though with this fight to the championship, it's still so close.
Yeah, the championship battle, it's very close, and coming into the last stages of the championship, there's not long left for these drivers to get these precious points onto the tally tables. I think it's going to be absolute chaos in these races because every point counts now. Every overtake that you can make, that's more points for your championship. And this is a big prize at the end of the season. Every driver wants this one.
Absolutely. And, I think this is just really, again, one of these things, they're all so focused on the prize, you really have to stay consistent still. So, I don't know. There's always this big, overwhelming, or not overwhelming, but the sense of pressure looming over, that you have to do well, that you have to finish well. But as we saw with Bernard Vella, he wasn't quite on top of the pace for quite a few rounds, but he was always just fighting somewhere throughout the field. And somehow he's leading the championship because he's always right there at the right time and just staying consistent. And, once again, at the moment he's 6 tenths off. Obviously, still a lot of time to gain for him. And I think, just in the race, if people are fighting ahead of him, all he has to do is just get completely hooked to the back of them and just stay there until someone makes a mistake. And at that moment, he has shown before that he can pounce on anything that then falls victim to a mistake.
One of the major factors in this championship, people say you've got good luck and bad luck, but I think that you need to make your own luck in situations like this. You need to be at the right place at the right time. You need to be all over your opponents. You need to be applying pressure to them. Make them, well, I say make them make the mistake. Don't let them make the mistake. You need to be pressuring your opponents to the point where they're feeling that they've got pressure from behind. They're always looking behind them, looking over their shoulders. You need to let yourself know that you're there.
Absolutely. And, I mean, you're perfect for the looking over the shoulder metaphor. Almost literally, Andrea Rizzo will have to do that with Sheldon Scott Muscat just breathing down his neck 5,000ths of a second apart. And, no matter what track length, 5,000ths of a second, I will always bring up this metaphor now simply because it's the easiest one to explain how short something is. The blink of an eye takes around a third of a second, so 3/10, 300, and 3,000ths, so quite a long time. Within the blink of an eye, basically, we've got the top 6 already. And, it's these minuscule, little perfectionist improvements that they'll now have to make. Andrea Rizzo actually getting a little bit too deep there, has to correct, has to slow down. And if that wasn't the case on his lap, he could have actually improved quite a lot there.
Yeah, getting it all sorts of sideways is Rizzo there, but going down the home straight. It was looking to be a promising lap there for the driver currently in third position, but there you see 2 seconds has been lost in that final sector. And you can see how bad the slipstream is coming into effect here, as Neely tucking out of the slipstream, looking for an overtake, is the driver behind Rizzo right now. As after that mistake, that's made him vulnerable to the driver behind. But a new purple sector 1, he's looking for that fastest lap, and he's going to hunt it down.
Absolutely. Even with that, even failing to catch all of the momentum through turn 12, still an improvement. So Rizzo really must have got quite a bit of strength in sector 1 here. Now also personal improvement once again in sector 2, so I think it's all hinging for him in sector 3 right now. The chicane, and it's so easy to just say, oh, well, he just has to get that right, but you can see how tight that chicane is, how high the speed is that they're taking it. And granted, this isn't Monaco where you're driving into a wall instantly, but this is still a good old-fashioned racetrack where there's immediately grass, and I don't think I need to tell anyone that grass doesn't quite have enough grip to give you the same pace as tarmac.
Well, that's been demonstrated a few times by these drivers. Rizzo shown that a couple of laps ago, but you don't say it's like Monaco straight into a wall, but if you carry just a little bit too much speed out that final corner, you're going to be greeted very nicely by a solid concrete wall, and that won't be very inviting for your car, and I don't think it's going to help the drivers in any way.
It's not quite the Hilton, is it? But yeah, once again, Andrea Rizzo going purple in the last 5 minutes. Little bit slower now this time through the runs of turn 6 and turn 7. And now, once again, very hot into the chicane. Gets it a lot better this time, though, so maybe this time an improvement after all. But it's all so close still, so Rizzo only 1/4 of a second behind Jason Muscat right now. And can he get an improvement in? Not quite. Also, meanwhile, we hadn't noticed up until now, but Bernard Vella also improved quite a bit. Improved from 6/10 down. Half a second he found. Went up into P3. Fantastic run from him. Good recovery. And once again showing, even though he doesn't always have the outright pace to instantly challenge for pole positions or something, he can have the pace, he can get into the rhythm, and he can definitely challenge for the championship lead to defend this.
Yeah, Muscat, definitely the fastest driver out there on the track right now. But if you think about it, there is never really a perfect lap time. We're going to go on board with Chris Nabea on his outlap right now. He's going to start his first flying lap after being out of the pit lane, as he's currently in seventh position, only 3/10 off the leader right now. That's a great shot right there. You can see attacking the first corner, letting it out in the middle of the corner, getting back in for the second apex, as he now runs and carries as much speed possible. A little bit of a dab on the brakes, lifts off the throttle, back on now, trying to carry the speed up into the braking zone, braking at 200, apexing very late. As you can see, the corner cuts off on the exit there. Now we're onto the back straight. Just a little bit of rest for the drivers. Get themselves ready for the final sector of the lap. And this is looking like a very nice lap here from Kirsten Abea, as he's had a purple sector 1, green sector 2. Look at him attacking the first corner, and it's all gone wrong. He goes backwards off into the wall. And if that happens in the race, you can see the disappointment on his face after it happens. If that happens in the race, I think it's fair to say it's over.
I mean, if you have a front hit, maybe not quite, because I think you can always manage understeer better than oversteer in a GT car. Especially with this McLaren 720S GT3, you can see how long it is at the rear, you can see how far back the rear wing sits and how long that diffuser is. But if you get a rear hit, that rear wing is gone, the car will be very, very squirmy. Of course, a little bit faster on the straight because of the reduced drag. But going into turn 4, you will have to go quite a lot slower.
Yeah, it's just not going to be drivable. If you lose your rear wing and have damage on the rear diffuser on the rear of the car, I don't think it's going to be drivable for many of these drivers. And I think it's not going to be competitive. So in the mindset of a driver, what's really going to be the point in being out on the track? If you're just going to be seconds of a lap slower, you're kind of going to be a hazard for other drivers if you don't come in to get that fixed.
Absolutely. Gianluigi Corrao in P8 right now, only 7/10 off. Now coming for a last lap attempt, and it seems just avoiding another vehicle on track there. And overall, the gap from first to last here, with Foster, and I think it was Corrao or Rizzo who weren't able to practice at home, only down to 1.5 seconds. Quite impressive overall is an understatement, I think.
Especially coming to such a high caliber event, a very competitive event with absolutely no practice on the table, not even have a simulator at home to even practice in different cars at a different track. You don't have that feel between events. You're kind of just sitting at home for a week, waiting for your time to be able to practice.
And of course you can get some practice here in these sessions just before qualifying, but I think it's an understatement to say, finding your rhythm, finding the perfect feedback, as I think that was Dean Vella that just had to avoid there. Not quite expecting Gianluigi Corrao to brake at that brake marker already. Now, that is exactly the thing there. You have to get a lot of track experience already, just getting your own line down, and then I think around here in practice, it's very good practice, first of all, to gauge the speed of your opponents, and then also to get some experience just around other cars.
Yeah, obviously you're judging your own braking zone, but when you're behind a car, you also have to be aware of where they're braking in comparison to where you would normally, as every driver has maybe a similar, but has a little bit of a different braking zone. Some drivers may go slower into the corner for a faster exit, and that's running very wide. There goes Jason Muscat. That will lose a lot of time on his lap as he just kicks up a little bit of dust by going on the grass. But some drivers prefer going a little bit slower into the corner. You get a faster exit. Some prefer to attack the corner and maybe sacrifice a little bit of speed on the exit.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's always so difficult to judge. You know, maybe fast in, slow out is the better one, maybe slow in, fast out, or just how to adjust the line to make each of those approaches work. And with turn 12, I think it's really awkward to make it work perfectly there, simply because you can take a couple different lines, you can try to stay further inside, or you can just completely let yourself get carried out wide up to the wall immediately and just try to take all of the momentum with you. But the big question is now, who will be able to carry all of this momentum with him through the qualifying session and then, of course, get pole position?
Well, at the end of that practice session, Jason Muscat was on top of the timing tables. He was looking very strong. Was only quickest by 700ths of a second, though, to Dean Vella. So Vella is a major contender coming into this one. But Muscat, he is looking very strong once again.
Yeah, very strong once again, but we've also seen in the past rounds, you know, very prone to having a bit of contact, you know, so he'll have to also keep his nose clean. It's also about, you know, keeping clear of the other cars, knowing your car perfectly to its measurements, and especially with the McLaren, you know, it's a little bit longer than you'd expect for being so flat. It's not quite like a BMW M6 where you're instantly thinking, well, this is a very large boy right here. The McLaren is deceptively long and deceptively wide.
Yeah, with it being such a wide track as well, which we see at the old turn 7, which is currently going to be our turn 4, it really widens up on the outside of that corner, so that's definitely going to be a overtaking zone, which many drivers aim for managing to do so, as it's not instantly going to push a car off the track if you squeeze somebody, as there's quite a lot of runoff to use.
Absolutely. Now we're going into qualifying. First lap's being set now. We're on the track. I think on board right now we are with, that is Dean Vella. Or is it? I'm waiting for the nameplate quickly.
Yep.
Yeah, there we are, Dean Vella. Just to make sure that I'm not wrong when we got the wrong Vella there. But yeah, first flying lap already, very late on the brakes, and of course it's going to be, you know, an absolute best in the purple sector, simply because no other time has been set yet.
Yeah, so Dean Vella, he's already putting his times in already, so only 2 minutes into the session, but 15 minutes is not a lot of time for all these drivers to set a good lap time, as it's half the session time, which they had earlier in practice. So in theory, it's half the time to get a perfect lap. So Dean Vella, obviously with the purple sectors, as he's the only car that is going to be able to set a lap right now, he's going to come down the home straight. What's the lap time going to be? Is it going to be anywhere close to what Jason Muscat was doing earlier? He's going to cross the line. It's a 103.173, so only a couple of tenths adrift of what we were seeing at the top times at the end of the practice session earlier. Mechea, he sets a lap time a tenth slower. Scott Muscat also sets another time 2 tenths slower. But Jason Muscat instantly comes in, gets himself on top of the timetables. He'll be happy with that one as a banker lap. 400ths quicker than Dean Vella, though, so there definitely is time for improvement.
Absolutely, and overall we've seen a lot faster lap times as well. Not in terms of, you know, this being seconds faster, but, you know, we have seen a lot of the drivers push a lot faster. And I think especially here with Michael Mechea, after that collision in Botnia Ring last weekend, he's going to be very desperate to improve. First sector, 2.5 tenths up. Second sector, 1 tenth down, and now actually trapped, I think, behind Corral. So he's going to have to try, and there we are. I was about to say either reset to pits or maybe then take a new approach for this lap, scrap this one, just try to get a slingshot through the last corner and then just drive past Gianluigi Corral on the front straight.
I mean, track position, you can see drivers are struggling right now. Sheldon Scott Muscat, that's a 102.760, which puts him at the top of the tables. That's a very competitive lap time, has been set there by Muscat. Watch out for the other Muscat, though, as we have Jason still going around the track right now, 800ths of his sibling. And, oh, losing the rear end there goes the number 7, as he'll bail out of that one and going off onto the grass, nearly touching the wall, but escapes to the pit lane just before his Christian Abea. As we watch Andrea Rizzo, purple sector 1. He's always been very strong in the first sector. It's normally around the third sector that he starts to lose a little bit of time. But Rizzo, let's see if he's able to string a lap together. There's our camera, looking very focused right now and determined to get the fastest lap of the session currently. He is a couple of tenths off, though, in the second sector. That's not what you want to see. Is he able to pull it back in the third sector? It's not looking like it's going to be likely, but I'm sure he will give it a go, attacking all the curbs, attacking the apexes of the corner, and carrying as much speed as possible down the straight once again. Andrea Rizzo, what is he going to be able to do? He's going to cross the line, but what is the lap time going to be on the table? Is he going to improve? Yes, he is, but only minimalistic. A 103.031 has been set by Rizzo. Promotes himself to 5th, but it's just not quite enough to get himself in the top 3.
Absolutely, but he gets past Dean Vella for now. Of course, Vella won't be content with the 6th place on the starting grid. Same goes for Michael Mercia. Of course, both of those in P3 and P4 respectively in the standings. They're going to want to start from the furthest in the front as possible. That spot right now belongs to Sheldon Scott Muscat. And in 3rd place, less than a 10th behind him, we've got Kirsten Abeya. These two guys are actually in P5 and P6 in the standings, joined on 22 points. So not just for the championship we've got a battle for every single position in this championship. And, you know, this is also just things, if you're not quite aiming for the championship or you're thinking, well, it's rather unlikely that I'm going to win the championship, you still want to beat the person immediately around you.
Yeah, even if you don't think you have a chance at winning the championship respectively, it's all about just doing your best and trying to get as high position in the championship. Because at the end of the day, there's only one person that can win. And if you're not winning, you may as well be in the best position possible. Talking about the best position possible, Mikhail Machea gets himself in a second, 102.764. Only 5 thousandths of Scott Muscat. Look at how close that is between the two of them. A snap of your fingers, and that's the gap between the two drivers in P1 and P2 right now. Any improvement could topple them both.
Absolutely, and once again, a bit of a mistake there from Kirsten Abeya. First sector, 2.2 tenths of a second faster. That would put him miles in front of Sheldon Scott Muscat right now. But of course, as always, you have to string that lap together. And if you can't quite do it, then all the purple sectors in the world won't really be of any help to you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see Abeya making so many mistakes at this point, and especially in qualifying right now with only half the session left to go. You don't want to be making mistakes at this point, especially with the race coming up. That is when you definitely don't want to be making mistakes. That's when you can't make mistakes. But with only 7 minutes remaining of qualifying, there's only a couple of laps left to go for each driver.
And this is going to be weighing on them very, very hard. And once again here, an improvement here. Bernard Vella, 11 thousandths off. And there we are, Jason Muscat comes out of nowhere with, I think, 2/10 improvement. Puts himself into pole position right now with 102.647.
Great lap time that's been set there, 102.647. Jason Muscat improves by another 10th there. Just pulls that gap a little bit more there into second position. But 18 hundredths is what separates Scott and Jason. So the two siblings battling it out at the top of the field. How often do you see this in motorsport?
Not quite often. I don't actually know if they're related, but you know, Sheldon Scott Muscat definitely finding some more pace here right now, and they aren't related, just a common surname. There we are.
Oh, that's my mistake then.
Actually, one of our FIA accredited stewards here, of course, one of them being Adrian Figallo, but second one, George Muscat, also has the same name, also not related, so...
We have quite a few common surnames in this grid we see, but Jason Muscat currently in second position right now, 6 minutes remaining of the session, currently on a flying lap. Is he able to improve? Yes, he is. 11 hundredths is the time he's able to find in Sector 1. Is he able to find any in Sector 2, though, as he needs to find at least another 9 hundredths to get himself into the lead. Muscat, he's looking strong, and he'll be hoping to do it right now down the straight. Is he improved? Yes, he has, but is it going to be enough? for that pole position. He's improved by actually 1/10 now. So 1.5 tenths is the time that he's managed to gain on this lap time. It may not be a purple sector 2, but it is a major improvement over Scott Muscat's time. So down the back straight, down the home straight, sorry, once again, and to the line. What is Jason Muscat going to be able to do? He's been returned to the pits.
I think maybe that was just a little bit over the limits somewhere, maybe over the track cut limits. So invalid lap, or maybe just barely ran out of fuel, so just lost a bit of momentum coming out of the last corner. It could be all kinds of reasons. Andrea Rizzo, meanwhile, in 7th place, starting to find some more rhythm again, starting to refine his valor and his groove that he had in practice. 1.3 tenths up right now, which would put him just behind Kirsten Bayer, but of course there's another third of a lap to go. A little bit of a mess up in turns 3 and 4 and the back straight, but of course we still have a couple minutes left. Luckily this is a rather short lap, so these guys can have a couple more attacks.
Yep, 4.5 minutes is what remains for these drivers to get their perfect lap times in. 1800ths between, but Mikhail Machea, he's on a good lap time right now. Is he going to be able to get himself up another position? Is he able to get second or maybe even pole? He's going to cross the line now, and it is going to be pole by nearly 1.5 tenths of a second. A 102.481 has been set by Mikhail Machea, so I'm sure he'll be
improvement with a purple sector in sector 2. Now last chicane once again, and actually really hard on the attack there. I'm wondering if that was still allowed from R Factor 2. Maybe it was, but of course very risky, because going over the grassland then rejoining the track, even if it's only for short, it's still dirty tires that you don't want normally. Did work though, and yeah, that is an invalid lap. That's what I figured.
Yeah, I think that may be the case there. But Sheldon Scott Muscat goes through the first corner. Let's see what his first sector is going to be able to be. As the first sector is very short in comparison to the second and third. It's only 17, nearly 18 seconds. But it is an improvement. Right now, it's actually a purple sector 1, 400ths quicker than Machea was able to do on his fastest lap. So Scott Muscat, you can see, just kicking up a little bit of dust there. That'll sacrifice a little bit of speed. He may have got a bit of a quicker exit, but no, that doesn't seem to be the case, as he's lost a lot of time there by touching the grass, as even just the slightest cut seems to massively affect these drivers, as he's all over the place, all over the curbs, bouncing left, right, and center. And that's not going to be a good lap there from Sheldon Scott Muscat. He'll back out of that one and go for another.
Really, the curbs once again being so difficult. You just have a slight little drop down. Jason Muscat actually improved to within 0.5 tenth of a second to Mercia, but Sheldon Scott Muscat, sorry, just can't quite get his lap together right now. Colin Foster down to 1.3 seconds behind the leader, and you know, of course, still trying to find more time, but absolutely having some improvements here as he rejoins just in front of someone who's trying to be a bit cheeky and get more momentum from off the circuit there.
Yeah, that was a little bit cheeky there. I don't think that will be too happy in the eyes of the drivers, but Colin Foster currently in 9th position, only 1.2 seconds off the leading driver. Remember, Foster being one of the drivers that doesn't have a simulator at home. He's doing so well right now to be as close to the leading drivers right now. Only just over 1 second, and he doesn't have a simulator to practice on at home.
Yeah, just at the practice session before, which we saw here, first sector only 1/10 behind. Of course, the main time I think he's losing right now in sector 2 and sector 3, but for the first sector already, you know, very close. Maybe if he just gets the rest tidied up here, he could actually challenge Corrao as well.
Well, tidied up is not going to be on that lap, as it seems, as he goes off the grass and into the wall. So not the ideal lap time there, with 40 seconds left on the clock. drivers will have one more lap time when they cross the line, as Mikhail Machea is looking for that fastest lap once again. He wants to improve by even more, as Jason Muscat has closed that gap just a little bit. Machea on his final lap now goes down into the first corner, carrying a lot of speed, nearly 300 kph we will be seeing, 250 kph, which we'll be seeing by these McLaren 720S at the top of the straight. And it's a purple Sector 1. It is an improvement there by Machea through Sector 2 now, just carrying as much speed as possible, trying not to run a little bit too wide and onto the grass. We see that loses a lot of time for these drivers. Down the back straight now, checkered flag is out for anybody that crosses the line now onwards. But down the back straight, it's not been the best Sector 2 there by Machea. He's now with 10th of his fastest lap, as he does not have a personal improvement. And I don't think the grass will be a personal improvement either, as he goes off. And unfortunately, that will be the end of qualifying.
Absolutely. First couple ones, though. First half of the grid, top 4 within 1.5 tenths. That is quite close, to say the least. Half a blink separates them, and I think especially for the standing start now. Of course, they are now in their set positions, but now the focus shifts from getting everything together for one perfect lap to getting everything perfectly set up for your reflexes, for the clutch drop, so to say, perfectly off the line. And very untypical for GT3 cars, we have a standing start here, so the drivers will have to now tackle this. How do you think it'll go, Kai?
Well, we've been seeing it for the whole season so far now. So drivers will be getting used to the format. They'll be getting used to handling the GT3 cars with the clutch drop off the start-finish line from standing starts. As you said, it wouldn't usually be the case as GT3s. We normally see a rolling start for the grid and to start the race. But it's something a little bit more different. It's a challenge for these drivers, and they tackle it head on.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit closer than a rolling start, of course, as well. And, you have to worry about the entire acceleration. You can't afford any mess up whatsoever. And these drivers will be on edge now, I think. We can see here the drivers slowly preparing for the race, Well, Andrea Rizzo is actually taking a stroll out of his cockpit for a moment. Just quickly having a bit of a chat with his fellow competitor, and now going back into the seat, preparing to go for the standing start. But all of them just mentally preparing now. A couple bottle of waters, a couple bags with something to drink there, just to get some refreshments back as warm-up is going on. And I think all these different kinds of prep now, it's really interesting to see. And this is really one of these exceptions where we can actually see something like this in sim racing.
Yeah, sim racing, you don't very often get to see what's going on behind the scenes. You don't get to see what's going on with the drivers, their facial expressions, what's going on with them. So I think it's a new inside look and an interesting part to this championship. We don't see it with many others, so it's a good part, I'd say.
And praising our situation that we have at Malta, let's go over to Davinia, who is currently over there.
Thank you, Nico and Kai, for that very interesting trial and their positioning. So we have Mikhail Machea, Jason Muscat, and Bernard Vella. Justin, what do you think of that position?
I hope nothing happens like it happened last week. I think this is going to be a very exciting one. I hope they don't ruin it in the first corner, as usual, as we always say. Actually, Adrian says it more than I do. They are very close to Jason, Mikhail, Bernard, Dean, Sheldon. There's Rizzo also pushing. He's always pushing. Also sometimes got fights with Corrao as well. Foster continuing with his racing, even though he is at the back, but still continuing to race. This is his first experience in such events. So I think he got more like it's his biggest milestone, and it's something that he should keep in his records for doing such thing without being afraid of being in a broadcast. He's there competing. There are others who didn't apply for many reasons, and they're not there. So he achieved more than anyone else did. And yes, of course I thank all the drivers for participating and for their competitive attitude. Sometimes you get angry about certain moves others did, but of course you have to remember that this is motorsport, this is racing. The cars are not covered in bubble wrap or anything, so you don't get hit or anything like that. It's racing, and you're gonna get bumps, you're gonna hit each other. It depends, of course. I mean, you don't have to be like do a dive bomb or a savage move, but I think it's going to be an excited one. With regards to who might win the race, in terms of all the drivers, I think that Jason is very consistent, Bernard Vella as well. Mikhail is doing a brilliant job in terms of he just started practicing and racing on R Factor 2, because he used to participate in events when we used to do Gran Turismo. And it's not easy. You cannot compare Gran Turismo with R Factor 2. So, yeah, of course, Dean and Scott, everybody knows who they are, they participate in international events as well. They have the ability, they have the skills to compete, but it seems that I think it's going to be a good fight with Jason, Mikhail, and Bernard. Maybe your thoughts, Nico or Kai?
I think it'll be tough to call because, for example, Sheldon has a lot better form this weekend for quali alone than he had before. Before he had a fantastic recovery drive though at Botniering, so he seems to have found his rhythm again after, in the first half he had a disastrous stint of 2 DNFs right behind each other. And, now he's finding his center again, having a lot of success with it as well. And I think that's going to be quite good for him because, obviously half of the racing is all about, your mental state that you're in as you're in the car, as you're behind the wheel.
Yeah. I think the thing that worries me as watching Sheldon, for example, is sometimes he's very aggressive during a race, and he might make a mistake that can cause losing positions. Dean, for example, is quite more relaxed in the driving style. But who knows? I don't know what's going to happen, of course. I hope that nothing happens in the first lap. And yeah, but I think it's going to be a very close one. And I think Mikhail will push much more after what happened last round. He seems very focused from the webcams that we were watching during the broadcast, the quali and practice. So I think, it's going to be a good one. What do you think, Dav?
Yeah, in fact, I was going to also say that Mircea looks very focused and determined that he will take this one in the bag like he did for round 2 and 3. So I'm guessing he would want to keep up that positioning.
We'll see. I mean, I'm still looking at these names, and it's very hard because they're all good. They're all good in many ways. They all compete in various competitions. R Factor, iRacing, Assetto, various. So they have different styles of how to drive. I think all of them can win, as in from the top 5. Rizzo can still push, but I think he has more. We need more time to practice to get more experience, more races. I cannot say who might win, but I think I say that there's going to be a good fight between Jason, Mikhail,
Mentioning
and Bernard.
experience, it's important for these racers to get experience because you will learn from each and every race, from each of your mistakes.
Exactly.
So
I mean, it's many people and they are right. Sometimes they don't join public lobbies because it's a mayhem. I mean, crashes, people don't focus, it's just for fun. So that's why you need to compete in such events that we organize, including the online casuals that we're gonna host again starting very soon. Hopefully we'll be launching by next week this first casual races on Factor 2, and that's continuing on Assetto Corsa online. So along with also as usual with Nicolas and Kai and the rest of our commentators. Yeah, I mean, the more races you do, all races are different. Yeah. Even if it's the same track, it's irrelevant. Today's gonna be a way. How it's gonna happen, who knows? Next round, of course, is gonna be different for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Back to Nico and Kai.
It's almost time now. I think the nerves are now basically as strong as a guitar string, and you know, as we said, it's not that many races left, and you know, people will have to look out now, you know, to keep consistent performances up. And Kai, honestly, overall, who's your favorite for the championship at the moment?
You really put me on the spot here. It's a difficult question. Favorite driver for the championship? I mean, we've got so many quick drivers. We've got Jason Muscat. We've got Scott Muscat. Who else do we have? We have Dean Vella. There's so many drivers that could win this championship, but I think I'm going to have to go with Jason Muscat. He's just been so strong over the course of this championship, and he's consistently bringing in the results.
I think, in my opinion, as people know that we are not biased, even though we have drivers who compete under our team name, I think I will, in general, overall, I think Mikhail did a very good job in just switching into R Factor 2 from Gran Turismo, and he's pushing a lot in taking the lead in the championship as well. And of course, Jason is a very clean driver, calm, and he can push in like without even such pressure, even though sometimes he shows that he's in pressure, but he still remain calm. And from his long experience in R Factor 2, he knows it by heart. It's everything. I mean, how you have to handle a car on track on R Factor. So I think, yeah, that's my. I think Jason can push for the lead.
Yeah, so a couple of different approaches already there. Only 30 seconds left for the warm-up, so soon we're going to be getting onto the grid. Then it's not just speculating anymore, then it's actually, well, seeing and just looking how people will tackle this race, how people will maybe try to be aggressive at the start, try to hold back at the start, and it's just like Ayrton Senna said, as a racing driver, have to know when to give everything and also when you have to hold everything. We'll see now who's the most racing driver according to Ayrton's decisions and quotes, and yeah, about to go over now to the track.
Well, definitely one of Senna's most famous quotes. It's if you no longer go for the gap, you're no longer a racing driver, and I think we hope to see that from these drivers in this race. They're gonna go for every gap that they see, try to make the moves as clean as possible, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of rubbing between the drivers, maybe not any malicious contact, but I'm sure there'll be some rubbing. But rubbing is racing, as they say, between these drivers, and it's going to be intense on the track and intense off track as well.
Absolutely. Bit of daubing is always in there for GT3 racing, of course, and now we can go onto the track. There we are. We've got everyone on the grid. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and green flag. And here we go for this race at Portland International Raceway. Mikhail Mechir has a fantastic getaway. Jason Muscat in second place gets challenged by... Oh, actually, Vella got past him already. And Dean Vella is also challenging, so side by side into turn 1. Behind that we've got Abea and Scott Muscat. Actually, Scott Muscat fell back quite a bit, and now down in 7th place, reminiscent of his start at Botnering. A lot of contact there, though. He gets 2 little pickups there. Abea now right behind him, top 5. A lot of moves being done here, and well, absolutely a chaotic start, kinda as we predicted.
Yeah, the contact that we saw earlier, that was Rizzo and Abea came together, and they both lost quite a lot of time there. But Machea, 6 tenths already is the gap that he's managed to pull over Jason Muscat in second position right now, and then Dean Vella another second behind. So the top 2 drivers have already pulled away from the rest of the field. It's only been 1 lap, and our leaders are already gone.
Absolutely. Now, of course, this is only the first lap, only 1 minute and, well, we're going to go down to 1 minute and 3 second lap time, I think, for the race pace here. So we've got plenty of laps to go, but of course you can see already in the eyes of Sheldon Scott Muscat, as he has that short little moment there, curb a little bit too much of a bump there, upsets the car, corrects it, and, you know, normally very focused, but that short little shock, I think, in his face there for a moment was, I think, perfectly summing up, you know, just how alert you have to be for when the car just for one moment doesn't do as you planned.
Yeah, that was a big moment there for Scott Muscat. He managed to catch the car as soon as he saw something going wrong, so great car control there. That shows the skill of a driver, but it's really important that when you have moments like that, you're able to catch the car and that it doesn't go out of your control. You go into a passenger slide, which is basically where you go into a slide and you can do nothing about it. You're just sitting there for the experience. But yeah, we already see those 1 minute 3 lap times. Machea with a 1:03.398.
I can see here Corral and Rizzo right behind each other on the straight, but Rizzo not quite close enough to actually start an attack there. Just, you know, we have that long slipstream zone, but now there we are. Rizzo's getting a bit closer. Gets a bit too wide though, so you can see it's all about, you know, just keeping it together in these cornering sections, because all that progress he made for one corner, he lost at the exit of the same corner.
Yeah, when you're the car behind, you're always trying to make the overtake stick in any position possible, and trying to wait for a gap to open. That's why you're always on the back of the car as close as possible. In case they make a mistake, you can easily just pounce, take the position, and try and run away with it. But Rizzo clearly feeling the pressure of actually being the car that's attacking from behind and makes that mistake. Machea once again dropping that lap time and increasing the gap. Nearly a second is separating Jason Muscat and Machea right now.
Also, we had one drop down just there. I think that's Dean Vella who went down to P9 now. Some mistake that happened in the last chicane. So really unfortunate for him. But of course, the rest of the train isn't going to wait for him. It's all going to keep on pushing. And, well, we're going to go right back to Andrea Rizzo, because it's the closest battle that we have on track right now. He's all over the back of Gianluigi Corrao. And you can just see, you know, he's getting so close, but he just can't quite find a way past, and that's just so difficult at this circuit.
Yeah, it's really difficult to find an overtaking zone as that's two drivers making a mistake up ahead. That's a Bayer going off, and who else was that that went off with him?
Muscat.
Oh, so Scott Muscat and Kirsten Abeya both going off. That's a massive mistake by 2 major contenders up at the front of the field. That means that Bernard Vella gets himself up into 3rd position right now. And there he is, Scott Muscat, really disappointed in himself. You can see the anger in his face as he drops down to 8th position now. And Abeya drops down into 9th, 17 seconds off the leader. It would be a miracle drive back if he's able to bring that one down.
Well, you know, the race isn't finished until the flag drops, so of course it's always the possibility of actually still picking up some positions. So these guys will really have to just look how to stay consistent now. Andrea Rizzo, and I think, quite honestly, Corral, that's the highest position he's ever been in a race in this championship. So both of these guys will now be under exceptional amounts of pressure, trying to just get around the track as error-free as possible. And of course, to then start challenging, well, actually, Andrea Rizzo will try to get past Corral as quickly as possible, so maybe he can catch back up to Bernard Vella right now, but it's going to be quite difficult for him the longer he stays behind Corral.
You see what happened? I jinxed it before the race. I mean, 3 drivers just dropped down to last 3. So, and now Corral is 4th and Rizzo's 5th. So that's gonna change everything. They're gonna keep pushing. Maybe they hold the drivers behind them as well, because of course they're faster than them, and they give the chance more to the top 3 to push further and gain more time. And yeah, that changes everything. But of course, 23 minutes remaining, as you said, which might change the positions again. Who knows?
So now all eyes are on the top 3, of course. The one in the direct fight here, Michael Mejia, Jason Muscat, and Bernard Veller. Actually, the top 3 in reverse order of the championship order at the moment. And well, funnily enough, P4 fighting P5 in the championship, well, one of the P5 sitters in the championship as well. Dean Veller in P6 right now. Of course, trying to make up some time again. Probably going to try and find his way past Rizzo and Corral any way he can. And this will be really, really difficult for him now, I think. But Rizzo, again, looking for a gap. Not quite able to make the move stick. Corral really making that car 3 times as wide as he normally has it.
Yeah, you can see as soon as that door was left open by Corral, Rizzo had a little look and Corral had to very quickly shut the door in his face. It may have been a little impolite, but it wasn't anything wrong on the track. Rizzo just trying to find a way around. He feels like Corral is holding him up ahead, so if he really wants to pull away and try and catch on to the pack ahead, he needs to get past as soon as possible.
And it's just really, really difficult, of course. Once again, he's right on his tail. But I think the gap is still too big. It's still too big to actually make a move. 0.6 of a second. Not quite able to close that just on this, even though it's a long straight. Overall, you know, the track is just not quite long enough to make that move. Now a mistake from Corral, though. Rizzo still looking, still looking. A bit later on the apex to try and carry momentum out of the corner. And again, all over the back of Corral. Still not able to make a move. Trying to look into the hairpin. Gets alongside and there's contact. Both of them luckily don't spin. But Andrea Rizzo absolutely just fed up seemingly. Staying behind Corral. And of course trying to look for a way through. But it won't work like that.
Yeah, Rizzo was shaking his head there. Clearly felt like something was wrong there. He felt like he had the corner. It was a very late move from quite far back. I think it was fair to say that Corral had the corner as he wasn't alongside going into the braking zone. It was a little bit of a dive bomb there from Rizzo, but as long as both the drivers are okay, nobody spun out, everybody is still on the track and racing. So Rizzo, he's just going to have to wait for that moment, being impatient and going for a move that isn't there. It's not going to help anybody.
Yeah, it's just so difficult, of course, you know. It's such a hard braking zone. The track gets so wide. The track is essentially trying to trick you into making that dive bomb. And once again, looking for the inside. Is it going to work this time? No. Also now has to defend from Dean Veller, who's right on his tail. So now we have a 3-car train with with Sheldon Scott Muscat. I'm incredibly sorry. Looking very, very close behind that. And now, of course, has to switch from attack to defense. Dean Veller not quite able to get behind, or well, alongside yet, so has to stick behind. Once again, just so tight, this chicane. You just can't put any foot wrong, as we saw with Sheldon Scott Muscat and with Kirsten Abaya. And now the 4-car train down the long home straight.
Yep, we now have this train going down the straight into the first corner. Dean Veller, he's waiting for both of these drivers to make a mistake now, but he's got pressure from Scott Muscat behind. It's went from a 2-car battle to a 3-car battle, and if nobody makes an overtake anytime soon, it's soon going to become a 4-car battle, as we see Dean Veller there just looking left and right, waiting for a gap to open to try and make an overtake. But with Rizzo and Corral battling at the same time, it's difficult to get involved, as you don't want to cause a collision, don't want to cause a crash between the drivers. So Veller still sitting on the back, of Rizzo and Corral right now as they go through the only chicane, what would be the second chicane, but isn't anymore, and around the final corner once again to complete yet another lap. And here comes Scott Muscat. He's on the back of them once again. It's just going to be a question of who makes the move first.
And it's kind of like a Mexican standoff right now. There we have it again, though, getting so close in the slipstream, but Dean Vella is just not quite able to pull alongside. It actually hurts me to watch this because I can feel the frustration from Dean Vella, just from knowing that pain myself of being right behind that and not being able to make a move. But once again, jeez, look at that move from Corral. Still somehow able to just keep it in front, and now Dean Vella sees a gap, almost able to pull alongside, actually was alongside for a moment, but then again, lost a bit of momentum. Now Sheldon Scott Muscat is actually going past, not quite, but almost once again, and it's so close. And now there's a spin, Corral spins off, and I ran out of breath there.
It's all kicking off there. We saw Corral go round onto the grass. That was a driver mistake there. Dean Vella still holding onto that position as Sheldon Scott Muscat still attacking onto the back of the orange McLaren 720S going down into the first corner. Rizzo still holding onto the position right now. All of them have gained one. So Rizzo into fourth, actually using a little bit of the grass. That's going to lose him some time, put him under more pressure from Vella and Muscat behind. So Sheldon Scott Muscat, once again, just looking for a gap, doing the same as Dean Vella earlier, waiting for a mistake to be made, waiting for a gap to open, and then when the opportunity arises, pounce at it. So Rizzo still leading this pack. There's a little bit more of a gap separating the drivers now as there was before, all trying to avoid an incident earlier. Rizzo, Vella, and Muscat. Let's see how this battle ages.
Absolutely, and, you know, definitely some more speed now in this pack here. I think Corral did slow them down a little bit with his incredible defensive driving, and Sheldon Scott Muscat now trying to pull alongside there, almost, and now actually has an overlap with Dean Vella. He lost a little bit of momentum out of the last corner, and it's just so crucial to keep that up. Are they going to keep it side by side through the first corner? Not quite, but just so difficult to overtake here, of course. And you can definitely see Sheldon Scott Muscat's face, you know, even though he wasn't quite able to make a pass yet, he's still very intent on finishing that.
You can tell these two drivers are very wise beyond their years, as both left each other just about enough racing room. A car's width is what is said by the stewards to be a fair amount of racing room that is left. You don't need to leave any more than that. But just about a car's width was left by both of them. Sheldon Scott Muscat didn't turn in, and Dean Vella didn't squeeze him beyond the limit. So that's great to see the sportsmanship from both drivers. But out of the final corner that time, Jason Muscat, how has this happened? Machea has lost the gap to the driver in second position, as Muscat is all over the back of him now, currently in second position, and will soon be looking for the lead, currently hunting him down. And he's already hunted down the gap, but it's the position now that he's looking for. Currently in second position, the number 11 and the number 10 are going to duel it out soon.
Absolutely, and right behind that, of course, we always have to remember battling, as fun as it is for the drivers, or, you know, as desperate as it is for the drivers sometimes, it does cost you time, and right behind that, only 2 seconds behind the leader, so 1.5 behind Jason Muscat. We've got Bernard Vella as well, the championship leader, and he'll of course be there again to pick up the pieces if these guys make a mistake. And you can see the concentration on both of their faces. Just no room for error. They both know that, and this is their best shot at gaining some valid points and closing that gap towards Bernard Vella.
Yeah, you can see towards the end of the straight there, Jason Muscat just closing in a little bit as they reach the peak speed of the cars. Well, that's when slipstream really comes into play, because that extra couple of kilometers an hour that Jason Muscat is able to get in comparison to Machea in the lead, it really comes into play. But unfortunately, with that straight being so long, it's just towards the end and it's being picked up by Muscat, so it's not enough to maybe even provide an overtake, as it seems like there's been a mistake made by Jason Muscat, as the gap's been extended once again by another 6 temps. It was down to nearly 1 or 2 temps. Now it's back up to, I was going to say 8 temps, which it was before, but now it's 4. Manages to bring it down in the 3rd sector. So Machaya, theoretically, is he quicker in the 1st and 2nd sector, and then Muscat manages to bring it back in the 3rd? Or was that just a bad lap?
Yeah, I think it's really the difficult way of telling, you know, if the guy behind is actually gaining on him, or if it's maybe just different strengths playing into effect. Yeah, here of course is the end of sector 1, but then we have our turn 3 and turn 4 here. You can see Melchia now coming into that, and I think last lap Melchia just gained a bit better momentum out of that. We can see the gap opening up here, and I think Muscat may have missed an upshift or something to just have lost 2 tenths there, but Jason Muscat, of course, a lot more aggressive into the chicane here. Will gain a bit of time here, and of course, he has a lot less to lose right now. Obviously, still points positions, but there's a bigger gap to behind, to Bernard Veller, the people after Bernard Veller. But, you know, he has a lot to gain by going that aggressive, and now, within 2 tenths, looking for the inside, but Mikael Melchia is moving over, just leaving the tiniest bit of room there. As they go side by side into turn 1, are they going to be able to make it stick? No. I think the way around the inside is just a bit too short to make it work for Jason Muscat there.
Yeah, Muscat now looking for that gap. He knows he has the pace to be alongside, knows he has the pace to get into the lead, but it's waiting for that chance, waiting for the opportunity to get that move signed, sealed, and delivered. As down the back straight now, once again, you could see within 2 temps how strong the slipstream was between Muscat and Machaya. With such a small gap separating the cars, there is basically no air resistance hitting the front of Jason Muscat's car. And you could see that in terms of the pace down the home straight. Once again, there is a little bit more of a gap, so slipstream won't have as much of a heavy effect, which we saw last lap and last time round. But this battle is still going on. Sheldon Scott Muscat is now on the back of Rizzo, so Dean Vella has managed to get himself past Rizzo, but Scott Muscat is now looking to be the second one to make this overtake.
Absolutely, and the gap is closing once again. Trying to just get a little bit more slipstream, but looks out of the side, maybe just to let him know, well, I'm here now, I'm ready to attack, because he isn't quite able to put it alongside yet. So the mental attacks are already starting before the physical attacks on the position are starting.
Yeah, mind games is a big thing in esports, and sim racing is very early braking there. In comparison to Scott Muscat is Rizzo. He has to take avoiding action in the corner, take a wider line so that he doesn't go into the back of the car ahead of him, does Scott Muscat. But down the back straight once again, slipstream not really having its effect. He has a little look to the inside. Is he going to be able to make the overtake? No, he isn't. Not this time round. Maybe next time. Into the final corner. Who gets the better run out? It looks like early on the acceleration is Rizzo as he pulls away out of the final corner and down the straight once again.
Absolutely, and just by the side, it's now almost 2/3 of the way already gone, so 20 minutes just flew on by. I didn't realize actually up until I saw at the timer. So, you know, these races, of course, you know, not a faulty car grid or something like that. But they do keep us entertained here, and we certainly hope that they do keep you at home entertained as well. As we go back to the racing action, and now Sheldon Scott Muscat trying to get a bit more momentum now by taking a wider line, keeping up some energy, and actually a bit too wide now! That's the mistake that he didn't need.
No, Sheldon Scott Muscat maybe just pushing the car a little bit more than the limit lets him do. As he looks over to his competitors, laughs at the situation at hand, clearly frustrated at what's happened. But there's no point in dwelling on what's just happened on track. He just needs to keep pushing forward. We pan our vision back to the front of the grid now, as Jason Muscat is still on the back of Mikhail Machea. Machea just holding on to the lead for now. Muscat waiting for his chance, waiting for his time to get into the lead. As look how close he gets to the rear diffuser and gearbox of the driver ahead of him. And with less than a third of the race remaining, time is running out.
And he's gonna have to make a move soon. Gonna see, I think we're gonna have about 9 laps left after this one. So really, really difficult for him here. And once again, you can see that little slide there. Actually, Machea going really, really wide now. And Muscat closing ever so slightly. 3/10 now. And it's going down. Slipstream is in full effect now. Down to 2/10. Is he able to pull alongside first? He's going for the outside again. Actually not quite able, actually just getting an overlap barely there, but can't quite make the move just yet. And that of course slowed both of them down again a little bit. So Bernard Vella in 3rd place, closing the gap a bit more again, and of course waiting for any sort of scraps to happen.
Yeah, just waiting for this battle to unfold ahead. Bernard Vella sitting in 3rd position right now, 2.3 seconds off of the leader right now. So just less than 2 seconds away from Jason Muscat. If any sort of collision or any sort of battle starts between the top 2 drivers, that's when Bernard Vella gets brought into the occasion. That's when his chance arrives at him around the final corner now. Can Muscat get a better run than Machea to hopefully get a move into the first corner? 4/10 is what separates them right now. But with Slipstream, you can see the time just falling little by little now. 3.8 temps. Jason Muscat not getting close enough to the leading driver right now of Machea into the first corner. 3.1 kilometers of circuit and 70% is flat out right now for these drivers, as it is majority sector 1 where the braking is done.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just so difficult, of course, to get corners right. Like, you have to extract everything out of the car to get the time here perfectly. Of course, it's not quite the Nordschleife, it's not something where you could mess up every single corner, but the difficulty here lies that you have to be perfect in that section where the corners are, and that is sector 1 and sector 2, which is of course a sector where Mikhail Machea can always just pull out a little bit of a gap, and of course dirty air will be a factor in that as well.
Yeah, dirty air is going to be a major factor, especially through the fast-flowing corners. That's when dirty air really has its major effect on the car behind. If anyone doesn't know, dirty air means that your car understeers more. You're more likely to lose control of your car due to there not being any clean air and basically not having any downforce on the track. Your car can't attack the corners as much. But Jason Muscat dealing with it very well right now, as he seems to not even be phased by the dirty air. Driving like he's in his own air right now, but sitting in 2nd position right now, looking at the back of another car. It's got to be a bit of a repetitive sight.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to really look, you know, what you're gonna do though now, because if you get into that monotone rhythm of always just following the car in front of you, if he makes a mistake, you're very likely to make the same mistake, so you have to be alert. At the same time, if you try too much to make moves, then, well, obviously you're going to start making mistakes easier, and Muscat is now running out of time for either opportunity.
Yeah, time is running out now. Only 5 minutes remaining, which is just more than 5 laps for these drivers. 5 laps, if that now. It may even only be 4 laps for these drivers. But Portland, a challenging circuit, as we mentioned, not the most popular circuit out there on R Factor right now. It is an official track, which is being used right now. And the difference that we are using the sprint circuit instead of the International Raceway, we are missing out the first 3 corners, which is the first chicane. It would have been a very heavy braking zone and a major overtaking zone for these drivers. But it seems like turn 4, well, what would have been turn 4, our turn 1 is going to be the major overtaking zone now, with Slipstream having a major effect.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of drivers, of course, with the extra straight line speed that they have over here, also I think a little bit scared of actually going for the inside here, because they would have to take a lot of momentum out of it, and the track does tighten up here quite a bit. So really, it's so difficult to now gauge how can you attack this perfectly. Mikael Mejia just really controlling this race right now and just driving a perfect defense, almost like Kirsten Abeya did at Lime Rock Park.
Yeah, Kirsten Abeya, very strong at Lime Rock Park. It's a shame to see that he's not being able to replicate that here, as it seems like he's been lapped, as he is a lap down on the timing screen right now. But look at this view here on the front of the McLaren 720S. A beautiful sound that has been made by that twin-turbo V8 engine, which is in the rear of the car. So a rear-engined car is the McLaren 720S, which does mean that there is a lighter front end. So the rear end is much more planted than the front. So unfortunately, setups are not available for these drivers. So it is fixed setup, which means that you cannot tune your setup to be more in favor of the front or rear end. You kind of just have to get in the car and get used to what you've got.
Yeah, this is the, well, I said this before a couple rounds ago, this is the most equal we can get for equal equipment. Even in, you know, same cars, for example, if you would have the stock setup for everyone in the Porsche Super Cup, there's always still a slight bit of difference that you can have just in engine performance or something, because sometimes you just have, you know, a little bit of deviation, that's the word, in engine output and stuff. So you can never have it perfectly 100% equal, but this here, 100% equal, everyone's on the same rig, everyone's on the same wheel and same pedals, same equipment, and everyone is in the same car, same setup, same track, at the same location. So really, this is the ultimate test, I would say.
Yeah, this is definitely the ultimate test for these drivers. It's all down to their ability and driver skill, so there's no blaming it on the equipment for anyone out there unless there is a genuine technical fault. Sheldon Scott Muscat, here he is. Oh, he's had another moment there. I was just about to mention the recovery drive that he's had since the mistake that he saw earlier. Just losing the rear end a little bit out the final corner, able to get it intact once again. But that's not what you want to see, especially after making a mistake earlier. You want to have the rest of your laps perfect and consistent to gain as much time back as possible.
Absolutely, and of course it's getting very difficult here now. Last couple minutes now, Dean Vella now in P4. This is going to be very good for his chances of, you know, sticking with the top three, simply because he loses the least amount of time as compared to before when he had that mistake when he went down to P9. So very good recovery drive from him. Bernard Vella not quite going to be too happy about not being able to mingle with the front runners there, but I think including this lap, we're going to have another lap here, just so close, and now Jason Muscat is all over the back once again behind Mikael Mejia.
Yeah, Mikael Mejia currently in the lead right now, 40 seconds remaining on the clock. So this will be the no, it won't be the final lap. This is going to be the penultimate lap for these drivers. They will just about cross the line in time to get themselves another lap time on the board. But Jason Muscat had a terrible run there onto the back straight, as it's still half a second that now separates the top two, as he runs very deep into the back chicane. That will open up the gap now to Mejia. The pressure is getting to Muscat as he makes another mistake. 7 tenths is now what separates them. Our leaders now go on to the final lap of the race with only 5 seconds remaining on the clock. Checkered flag will be down next time round, but Jason Muscat, it's now or never if he wants to get himself into the lead. The clock has finally hit 0, so checkered flag next time round. Jason Muscat, he's got to make his last lap count.
Absolutely, and you can just see how much they're both pushing still, even though it's the last lap. They just really have to get everything perfect now. Only the back straight and 3 more corners left now. Jason Muscat is running out of options, and I think not to jinx it, because there's still a couple corners left, but I think Michael Mejia is now out of range, but he just has to get it clean through the last couple of corners. And it's 3, 2, and now only one corner left. And Michael Mejia brings it home. Defends half an hour, and there you can see the smile cracking up. Both of them cracking up, giving each other a thumbs up. That is nice to see. Such a positive vibe between two competitors, and both of them just being absolutely, tremendously happy with that finish. That is great to see.
Yeah, it's amazing to see the sportsmanship between the two drivers, both congratulating themselves on the win. And Jason Muscat maybe taking a victory lap on the grass as he goes off in the first corner, whilst trying to go side by side around with Mejia. But the big smiles on both of their faces. You could see how much that win meant to Mejia, and he definitely deserves that one.
Absolutely. Now the rest of the people finishing and coming out as well. Mejia, Muscat, then Bernard Vella, Dean Vella. Right behind that, I think we had Andrea Rizzo. There we are, and actually finishing the race in the pit lane in 9th place. So, slight difficulties for both Abea and Scott Muscat, but I think Foster, Corral, and Rizzo, they'll be absolutely ecstatic about their finish in this race.
Yeah, all of those drivers will be very happy with them with their result. And it seems to be that Scott Muscat, it just wasn't his race. We saw that mistake. We saw the spin earlier on. And after that, there's nothing that he really could have done to try and pull that one back. Of course, he kept it on the track. He kept pushing to put in those laps, gain back as much as he can that he had lost. But it just wasn't enough, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Let's quickly go to Malta to see their views and their opinions after this thrilling race. And we'll be back to us quite shortly.
We're back here in the studio in Monte Cristo Estates together with Justin Mifsud. Justin, how was the race for you today?
I predicted many things today.
You did.
And in fact, it happened. Of course, I didn't wish to. Anything wrong happened, but I know all the drivers quite well. So I have noted some. First of all, Sheldon. I told you Sheldon is good. He's a skilled driver, but then he starts to get aggressive. He loses a bit the concentration, and as you have seen, I had two spins. He went off track 2 times. Mejia, I think he's the driver of the day, I think, for me. Why? Because his face showed already today that since the practice that he was ready to win this round, and as you can see from the finish, he was happy about it. And of course, congratulations to him because he worked hard for it, and it was a clean race. Jason, as usual, he focuses a lot during the race. Just those slight mistakes are holding him back from taking the lead, because he could have pushed more with against Mikhail, but due to those slight mistakes, because he didn't went off track, but he lost time between Mikhail and he ended up in P2. Rizzo, he went up in position, so he gained more points. Foster the same. So, you know, just one race changed again positions.
Yeah, I think it was always between Mikhail, Jason Muscat, and also the Vellas, because they were quite close as well. But I think Mikhail Mejia was very well overall. He didn't do one mistake, which was really huge, to say. So I think he truly deserves this win.
Yeah, he deserved it. He deserved it not just because what happened last week, because that's part of racing, and it was cleared. But today he showed that he can win the championship. I mean, he already showed before, and I say it again, that to change from Gran Turismo to R-Factor, it was not just easy to turn into a PC-based game with more features and simulation. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing more to say than praise him for what he's done today and during the race, and his achievement throughout this championship, his progress actually.
Yeah, exactly. I am so looking forward for the next round, round 6. Next week we have the next round of the championships. Are you looking forward?
Of course I do. I mean, round 7, I think. Correct.
Today was round 5.
Sorry?
Today was round 5.
Today was round 6.
Today was round 6.
I think so.
Never mind then.
Let me check. Yes, in fact, yes, 3 rounds remaining.
Yeah.
So the 6th, 7th, and anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Broadcast Director. Yeah, I mean, there are still points to be gained. If they're gonna continue pushing like this, I might be worrying that, you know, like the temper, the pressure starts to build up again. Exactly, yesterday was round 6. We've got 2 rounds more. So I think, yeah, this is not the, it's not how it's going to remain as it is with the positions, believe me, because I believe that Bernard will push as well. Dean, Sheldon, and Muscat, of course, is going to try to beat at least another race against Mikhail. Yeah, it's going to be an excited first national championship, Malta National GT3 Championship, fueled by Enemed. Your thoughts, Nicholas and Kai, until we bring the top 3 drivers?
Been on the top podium steps, so that's quite something, but of course it still doesn't quite catch up to the consistency that Bernard Vella showed. I think that is going to be up in the last 2 rounds of a championship, so it's going to be very, very interesting if he can close that gap. I think honestly, you know, they really stole the show today, you know. Jason Muscat and Michele Meccia, they drove a flawless race. Bernard Vella obviously error-free as well, but not quite able to go the pace that they were going in the top 2 ranks, but still staying there, keeping the consistency and keeping the points from dropping that he definitely needs to stay in front of the championship right now.
Yeah, it was crazy to see that Mechea was able to pull a 7/10 gap just on the first lap of the race, and after we'd seen that, I think it was fair to say that we knew that Mechea had the pace to pull away from the rest of the pack. Wasn't able to pull away from Jason Muscat though, as he was on the back of that car for the majority of the race. But for defending for nearly half an hour, Michael Mechea held on to his durability and fought through the challenges. He did an amazing job to win today.
Absolutely. And, you know, even down the field, Dean Vella with his mistake early on in the race, you know, really good recovery drive from him up to P4 again. And, you know, what can you say other than, you know, congratulations to a great drive. He had to fight his way through the field again, and he did a great job of it. Now we actually have Bernard already ready for our interviews, our P3 sitter. So let's quickly change to the studio there to get him into view. And let's have our interview there. Bernard, can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Congratulations today to P3. Definitely helping you to retain the championship lead. How was your race today?
Honestly, I didn't have the pace to win, so I just stood in P3. There was no one behind me, so I just had to relax and make sure I make it to the end.
Yeah, definitely. But overall, were you hoping that you know, maybe you could stick with P1 and P2 a little bit longer, or you know, maybe hoping that there would be some how would you say it? Some sort of trouble coming up in the last lap, like it did at Botniaring, where you could profit in the very last lap.
Yeah, I picked up some damage at the start, and I didn't want to risk anything, especially in the final sector. It's very risky there. We saw like 3 people make mistakes, so I just had to make sure I make it to the end.
But definitely today the safe approach in the last 2 rounds. Are you confident that you can retain the championship lead?
Who knows? Anything can happen, so we'll see.
Thank you very much, Bernard. So Bernard Vella even picking up damage at the start of the race, so that is also something that you have to fight with, of course. And quite honestly, as he said, you know, Sector 3, it was so difficult today. A lot of mistakes made there. As he said, I think 3, maybe even what we saw 4 or 5 cars making mistakes there. So really difficult to get that completely settled. Quite a big gap in height from the curb down to the grass. So I think that caught out a lot of people today.
Yeah, the grass, it seemed to attract quite a few drivers there. And I'm sure not for the light of hearted going onto it. We saw mistakes from Scott Muscat and a lot of drivers kicking up dust, losing a little bit of time by catching the grass. Not quite losing the car, but definitely unsettling themselves by going over that grass, losing the time to the car ahead. And it's just not a situation that you want to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just so difficult. Now we actually have our P2 sitter ready for interview. So Kai, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Jason Muscat joins us in the studio. Jason, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us once again. P2 in this race. It was so close all the way down to the wire. Tell us a little bit about it from your perspective.
It was very tough to keep up and mostly to overtake. It was nearly impossible. Mikhail defended really well when he made the mistake at the last turn. He always defended the inside into turn 1, and it's really hard there to overtake around the outside. It's impossible because you just go a bit wide of the racing line and you would fly off the track. So I just kept pushing just in case he makes a bigger mistake, but unfortunately he never did. So yeah. Well done to him. Really well.
Yeah, it was a great race. You just mentioned it was so hard to difficult. So hard to difficult. Stumbling over my words there. It was so difficult to overtake around that track. What was going through your mind while sitting behind Mikhail?
Most importantly, not to make any mistakes myself, because Bernard was close behind within 1 second, 2 seconds. So I wanted to make sure I don't make any mistakes and settle for P2.
I would like to ask you a question. Sorry, Kai, for interrupting. I saw you on screen and your face looked like you had a lot of pressure. Talk me through that time.
Yes, you know, it's normal, you know, to have some pressure during the races. And as you can see, last race, I made a mistake as well. Just today I wanted to make sure I don't do the same mistake. But yes, it's really hard to handle the pressure, but yeah.
Yeah, and final question, with 2 rounds left of the championship, what is the mindset going forwards?
Qualify the best I can, make sure I don't make any mistakes in the races, and we'll see how it ends.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us and congratulations on P2 today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so that was Jason Muscat. Joined us in the studio there, P2 today, after a very close battle with Mikhail Machea. Just managed to hold on to that lead, did Mikhail, and that will be the next interview that is coming up very shortly. But Nicholas, what did you think of Mikhail's driving? Do you think there was anything better that he could have done?
Well, I mean, he won, so not really. I mean, I think a bit of a, what's it, Nelson Piquet-esque reply there, isn't it? But basically, you know, he did a great defensive drive. I think also he was taking a little bit of extra pace out of the car there, just to keep it safe. He noticed how people were spinning off. I think he was also considering maybe for some tire usage, you know, so for in the later stages that he wouldn't have a nervous car through that last sector. So I think he calculated very well, defended it even better, and you know, executed it perfectly in the end. Really good run from him, and we actually have him here now as well for the interview. Mikhail, can you hear me?
So we're here with Mikhail Machea, the winner of this race. How are you feeling right now, Mikhail?
So, very happy. I think it was quite a tense race, but kept relaxed and managed to get away with the win.
Great. And I was seeing you next to Jason, one against the other, trying to keep your lead all throughout the race. Did you feel some pressure with Jason just behind you?
Yeah, massive pressure. He stuck around behind me less than a second to overgap, so every lap behind me. So I tried to minimize my mistakes. Actually, I had 2 mistakes before the finished straight, and but managed to keep him behind, keep my cool, and managed to get away with it.
And also, you have won already some races before, so I think now you're keeping that momentum.
Yeah, it helps me to stay motivated, and after the last 2 races I had, which were a bit less successful than this one, so let's hope I keep this momentum and try to win the last 2 races as well.
Do you have any secrets maybe about how you can overtake or keep your pace?
So not secrets exactly, it's just these tracks we have been having, they've been so narrow, it's quite difficult to overtake. You need to, it's much more worth it to trying to pressure the guy in front to make a mistake, and that's what I was trying to do last races. So yeah, that's the secret actually, just to keep calm then if you're in the lead, so and avoid mistakes really.
Great. Are you looking forward for the next races, and do you have maybe a certain racetrack which you prefer?
The last 2 races, one of them I've practiced a lot in it. I am quite aware of the track. The other one is quite new though, so the next one. So it's time to go train again, and hopefully we'll be in front again next time.
Back to work.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you very much for joining me, Mikhail, and congratulations
Thank you very much.
Back to Nico and Kai.
So once again, you know, not really taking a moment to enjoy the victory, already thinking about back to work. And, you know, practice is so much in this preparation work here. Of course, only 2 races left. The last one will, of course, not be a half-hour race, but a full 1-hour race, which will be even more difficult for the drivers. So, you know, it'll really be management of the tires even more, and of course, driving with a way heavier car than they've done so far.
Yeah, 1 hour, basically an endurance race. There will be a fuel stop, which the drivers will have to do, as I don't think the fuel will even be able to carry enough for an hour in the car. But it's going to be even more of a challenge for these drivers. It's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. Half an hour, I guess you could say, is a sprint race, but an hour, it's definitely all about the endurance and maintaining the pace over the course of the race.
Absolutely, and as you said, you know, there could be a stop actually really rentable there now at that point, because, you know, the tires wear off quite a lot over 1 hour. You have to think, you know, is it more like rentable to actually lift and coast, try and make sure that you're actually making it to the end, or is it maybe more rentable that you can actually go for a pit stop, change your tires, and actually drive out again, and then, you know, be able to push maximum again?
I wouldn't be surprised in this race if we do see drivers go into the pits when they refuel and actually switch tyres at the same time, as the tyre wear and tyre degradation will be a lot more and may even be overwhelming for some of the drivers over the course of this race. So tyre wear, it may be a major issue.
Absolutely. But as we are looking into the future, we're going to get quickly back to Justin and Davinia to look into the future and World Pro Racing with a couple of upcoming events and such.
Thank you, Nico. He just said it all. Justin, from your part, any updates, maybe some upcoming events in World Pro Racing?
Yeah, first of all, I wish to say a big get well soon to Simon and Kane, your colleagues, who are coming here from university, getting experience and enjoying it, as you probably are as well.
Very much so.
We wish them well and hope to see them next week. Of course, thank you to Nathan, who's behind the scenes today, broadcasting, actually directing the broadcast, along with also George being floor management, Adrian, the race director today, Nathan, Vella, who was taking care of the simulation for all the drivers, making sure that everything is running well. We're pro racing's upcoming events. We have a new website coming up, a complete different website with more information, better design, more easier to use, so it can handle more information and data, and continue growing with more events, especially the endurances, which we always mention that we will create, and they're gonna be happening. Hopefully we'll manage to create something before the end of the year. We're gonna create also events, especially locally here in our facility. Of course, that was the reason to inaugurate it, apart from the national championship that's going on right now. And we're going to have daily events going on, special weekly, Friday nights, for fun, apart from the training sessions that are happening every day. And of course, something that we're going to do as well is by having the local community, and during our international events, they will be able to join. When we do our Factor 2 events, they can join our simulation. They can use one of our simulators to compete along with the international drivers, our international community. So basically, we're trying to give them experience to race with drivers who are in different countries. To, in esports, we always keep saying that we communicate with each other, make new friends, and in the contrary of what other people might say, that gamers are just lonely people, they're stuck in a room and, afraid of going out or anything like that. So yeah, we gamers are still social, we go out, we have fun and enjoy. So we as World Pro Racing would like to connect, collaborate with everybody, and yeah, so not just the local events for the Maltese or people who are visiting our islands, but also during our international events on our Factor 2, because that is the license that we have in our facility, and hoping to get more licenses in the future. Of course, special events and casuals that will be happening weekly, apart from Monday, because Monday we have the new program now, ACIT. And yeah, so from Tuesday onwards, we'll be creating, of course, multiple events, our Factor, Assetto Corsa Competizione, maybe Gran Turismo, who knows? There are many more plans, of course, they cannot be revealed right now, but not to keep it long, yeah, that's basically it. Yes, we're continuing with the events that we are doing this year, but of course, after a lot of hard work waiting for the facility to be ready, actually not waiting, we were working on it to be ready, we finally inaugurated, and it's running well, people are coming, enjoying it, they're enjoying it. Yeah, we have different cultures coming over. It's not just about the driver, about the race. It's about even stress releasing and enjoying the experience of sim racing as well. So that's from my end. We'll see you next week for the next championship.
Yes, thank you very much, Justin, for that very interesting update. I'm very looking forward for the weeks ahead to work with this lovely environment together with you guys, my colleagues from university, and also the races, because we've become quite good friends as well.
Yeah, of course, we cannot forget, of course, the commentators, Nico and Kai, who has been with us for the past now 2 rounds. Thank you for your colorful commentary, and of course this is just the championship that we have. We're working now, but many are coming, and as usual, as they know already, Nico is always commentating with us in most of our events, along all the other commentators. I'm not going to mention them all because we keep counting, we keep mentioning everybody. But yeah, thank you, and I'm not going to keep it long, so that's all from my side. I don't know if you have anything to say.
I just want to thank you, Justin, and all your team for this amazing opportunity. And as I said before, I'm very looking forward to working with you guys in the near future. Thank you very much for seeing us
Of
and
course.
seeing the race. I hope that our viewers will be able to join us also next time. I'm Davinia. Thank you for joining in. Back to Nico and Kai for their last comments. Thank you.
So, with that, it's basically closing time for us as well. Last comments. I think today we had once again an exciting race going into the last 2 rounds of the championship then to finally crown the champion of the Malta National GT3 Championship, fueled by Enemed. Kai, what did you think of it?
I think it was an entertaining race. It packed everything and we had close racing and drivers battling throughout, even from the front to the back of the field. We had a few thrills and a few spills as well. So everything put in, and I'm really looking forward to the last 2 rounds.
Same here. And yeah, I think that is a perfect closing comment. This was Nicolas Silverbrand and Kai Bacchini, of course. Thank you so much, of course, to our sponsors, Enemed, Gaming Malta, the Malta Motorsport Federation, 3CX and Vibe FM, and of course our broadcast partners over at ESTV, Motorsport TV and TVM Sport. This was the 6th round of the Malta National G3 Championship 2021, fueled by Enemed. My name is Nicolas Silverbrand, and see you next week.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Office without limits. Slash your telco costs. Boost agent productivity and customer service. Web conferencing for all. Never miss a call. .3CX, everywhere you go, on premise or in the cloud. 3cx.com.
issa ħalsulhom il-fuel. Ara ġej.
Wara ftit ġranet kellna rebbieħ ieħor fil-logħba tagħna kontra 30 sekonda bil-maqlub.
Suqu fuq ir-riserva xejdu le mhix se tieqaf.
Il-ġimgħa d-dieħla nkunu fuq pompa tal-Enemed oħra nagħtu xi ħaġa oħra.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
Okay, we proceed to the start.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.